There we go. Oh. All right.
Good morning.
Let's start off with Via Dia. This is super easy. Some of you, I'm sure, will know this. You'll catch on very quickly. Feel free to sing along.
Love is my source. Love is my power. Love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need.
Love again.
Love is my source. Love is my power. Love gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need.
What's next?
Joy.
All right.
Joy is my source. Joy is my power. Joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Joy gives me everything I need. Peace. Peace is my source. Peace is my power. Peace gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Peace gives me everything I need.
What's next? You don't know? Love? Well, go back to love. Love is my source.
Love is my source.
Love is my power.
Love is my power.
Love gives me everything I need.
So I give thanks for all my blessings. Love gives me everything I need.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's it. So there's a thing. So we had this discussion this morning. Go ahead. Thank you. We had this discussion this morning because that song is called "God Is My Source," and I actually have purposefully kind of kept the word God out of our conversations from week to week. But today I'm going to talk a lot about it, with the understanding that God is not some thing, some being, some personality out there, but God is the infinite nature of everything that exists, and everything we see, everything seen and unseen, is God. And it is the infinite creative power, so it is always, always showing up in terms of creation. And that's what really New Thought is all about, is having a deeper understanding that God is all there is. That's it. We're a part of that. And that the universe unfolds based on the law of cause and effect. That's what we teach here. Those two things. And really, nothing else. So, we come together as a spiritual community on Sundays, and we've been enjoying this space, a dedicated gluten-free bakery and coffee shop. This is our last Sunday here. We're moving to Spark Project Collective starting next week. We're going to be there for at least 3 months. I've gotten a 3-month commitment from the owner of Spark Project Collective. It's on Broadway near Columbus. I know some people are not going to be super thrilled about that, but the address is on your handout today. But we come together as a spiritual community to celebrate love. That's really why we start with love. Love is my source. Love is my power. Love gives me everything I need. Because love is a synonym for God. It's all one thing. And this love that we talk about is the creative energy. Ernest Holmes defines love as the self-givingness of spirit for the purposes of creation to itself. And it expresses as itself by means of love. And when we really come into alignment with this in our own lives more and more and more and more, life gets better. And isn't that what so many people are looking for? Life to just get better. And as good as we think it is, it can be even better because it's limitless, it's infinite. So our vision here at Tucson New Thought is to create a world that works for everyone. And we do this through our mission of providing practical tools for spiritual transformation and awakening humanity to its spiritual magnificence. That's what we're here to do. Our values that we honor here are community, and I'm so grateful that we get to come together in community, diversity, and creativity. Because if we're not being creative, well, then what's the point? So we celebrate that every single week here through our gathering. Someone invite us all to just take a breath. We're going to do a little centering to allow us to come to that place of recognition of the divinity within each and every one of ourselves. So if it's comfortable and you'd like to, I invite you to close your eyes and allow your focus to fall into your breathing. Just allow it to be there. Just deepen into the awareness of the breath while we recognize the distractions that may be calling for our attention. As we deepen back into the focus on the breath, we let those distractions simply melt away. They do not require our attention. We simply relax into the here and now. Recognizing that the breath is simple and easy. There's nothing we need to do to make it happen. It just happens. And we deepen into the awareness of this happening. The simple flow in and out. In and out. With each exhale, the body becomes more relaxed. With each inhale, the body becomes more relaxed. Deepening into that awareness that that which we are seeking has been causing us to seek. In and out. In and out. Beginning to imagine that with each breath in and out, it carries with it the inherent creative nature of love. We breathe in this love and breathe out this love. And this entire room is immersed in love.
Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful. 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 Gratitude before me. Gratitude behind me. Gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. Sing it with me. I'm so grateful. 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 I'm so grateful.
So, continuing to focus on the breath, I invite you to gently affirm within you, using your inner voice, these words. I am here. I am fully present. I am open to a positive, inspiring experience for myself, for this entire group, and for everyone who is touched by this gathering today. And allowing the ease of breath to continue. Whenever you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes. us. I also want to acknowledge and say hello to everyone who's watching online. We do stream our services on Facebook, our gatherings on Facebook, and we do have at least one person watching right now, which is always lovely. I'm not sure who it is because I can't see the name. Welcome and thank you for joining us. One of my great joys is to honor the faith traditions of the world, and so I'm going to invite Olivia to help me out here as we do a ceremony called Lighting the Flames of Faith. Make sure everyone can see there. And for each candle that we light, we are honoring the faith traditions of the world. And you'll understand as we go through, we're calling upon the core of every tradition and recognizing that it all comes from one source, one spirit. And that's really what Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of religious science, which is the branch of New Thought that I was trained in as a minister. That was what he was really interested in, is finding our commonalities, what brings us together. And so we light a candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light a candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light a candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light a candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light a candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light a candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light a candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling, the will of God being love. We light a candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light a candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. And we light a candle for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of spirit in their lives, and for the space that we are holding for them, and for all faith traditions unnamed in this ceremony. This candle also represents healing, the healing of any circumstance that requires divinity to be revealed, which is what healing is all about, revealing the divine in any circumstance. Thank you, Olivia. So our music today, provided by Via Dia, who are Nadia Stefanik and Olivia Avanzado. So I heard this song for the first time yesterday. We did a little music video recording yesterday, and so they played this song, and I said, I don't think I've heard that song before. And they said, well, that's what we're playing tomorrow. And I said, perfect. It's a great song. Please welcome Via Dia.
Remember when I sat in my room, I was miserable, but I was safe. But my soul wanted more than these four walls. The world's a great big place. So I said goodbye to conventional things, packed my bags and hit the road. And I started a journey of claiming my life and embracing the unknown. And now I'm standing outside the zone of my comfort. It's crazy, the pain that comes from growth. Once you jump off, there's no choice, no undo button now. And the only way from crashing is to build some wings on the way down. So I fly, even though I'm scared of heights, and I ride on the back back of a motorbike. I hold on tight and lean into the fear, say goodbye to the girl that's afraid to try, not afraid to try. As I travel from place to place, I can be at home anywhere. All I need is a place to sleep and some quiet time for prayer. I'm learning how to ask for help. I learn how to receive, and anything is possible if you just believe. And now I'm living outside the zone of my comfort. It's crazy, the pain that comes from growth. Once you jump up, there's no choice, no undo but now. And the only way from crashing is to build some wings on the way down. So I fly, even though I'm scared of heights, and I ride on the back of a motorbike. I hold on tight and lean into the fear, say goodbye to the girl that's afraid to try, not afraid to try. So if you could just think of one thing that's been on your mind that you've been afraid to try. It could be something small or big. And just commit to yourself and the people around you energetically that you are going to step into what it is that you've been wanting to try. Even if it's just the first step. Try, 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 try. So I fly, even though I'm scared of heights, and I ride on the back of a motorbike. I hold on tight and lean into the fear, say goodbye to the girl that's afraid to try, not afraid to try. Not afraid to try.
It's Via Dia. Oh, I say goodbye to the girl who's afraid to try, or the guy who's afraid to try. We don't have to be. I mean, we can all be girls, but we can all be guys. I don't settle into gender so specifically that I can't try something else. I don't know, that didn't come out right. Anyway. So something struck me while you were singing the song that was kind of unexpected, and that was, to what degree, I mean, it's expected because of the song, but it's not necessarily what I put down in my notes, and that is, to what degree am I willing to try, or what degree have I given up on a dream because I wasn't willing to try, because I was living my life based in fear. And it really struck me how present this is in my life right now as I'm launching a new spiritual community here in Tucson, and some people think I'm crazy. I've had that feedback, you know. It's not easy launching a spiritual community by any stretch of the imagination. But I have to be willing to give it my all. I have to be willing to try. I have to be willing to say, I have something to say, and I'm willing to step up and say it in whatever venue I can find. And it took me a while to get to that point. You know, we started off at my sister's house, and that was lovely for the brief time we were there. And that just wasn't going to be a sustainable place to meet. And so then I went and I tried this online, experience where it was literally a produced video every week. And we did that for 3 months? 3 months we did that. what was missing for me was this: community, being with people, having the tangible experience of being with people in a gathering. And that is so important. I mean, one of our values is community. And so I honor that by encouraging and bringing people together. So that's what came up for me while you were singing that. Thank you so much. So as I said earlier, I tend to shy away from the G word. And I do that specifically because it carries a lot of weight for people to hear the word God. And some people cannot move past the weight that they're carrying from their past to be able to understand from a new perspective. So I tend to use love, or universal spirit, or the infinite creator, whatever comes up through me, as a synonym for what many people will simply refer to in the shorthand as God. And I've heard a couple different acronyms for God over the years. One, good orderly direction. And isn't that the truth? If God, or love, or this infinite creative spirit is constantly unfolding in terms of creation, then it must progress in good, orderly direction. So that worked for me for a very long time. Good, orderly direction. The other one that I heard more recently, and has been starting to make the rounds in some New Thought communities, is greatness on demand. Greatness on demand. What a great understanding, because here's the thing. Many people come to New Thought and the New Thought traditions as a way to escape their previously understood idea of God. The God they once believed to be true. And it's so prevalent throughout our society. I was not brought up in religion, but I, just from being in this culture, had a very specific idea of what God was. It was something out there passing judgment on all of humanity, and you had to overcome something to live actually, not even a great life now, but to live in the hereafter. It's like it was all prefacing what happens after you pass off this mortal coil and go to the next thing. Well, that just doesn't make sense to me. So a lot of people come to New Thought because we have a very different understanding of God. And this idea that we have is actually in deep alignment with the mystics of the ages. Truthfully, Jesus taught the Father and I are one. What he's saying in that is that there is no separation between the divinity and the humanity. It's all one thing. And the more we begin to recognize ourselves as spiritual beings, not human beings having a spiritual experience, we are spiritual beings having a spiritual experience because everything is spirit. The more we settle into this idea, the more we can actively use the power of creation for goodness in our lives. And that's what greatness on demand, for me, means. We get to utilize it on demand, no matter what, at any given point of the day. Now, how many... Oh! Clean up on aisle 2. It's okay. Y'all, is everyone okay? Okay. So, greatness on demand. So I'm going to ask this question. And for me, there's one answer. And it's rhetorical. I want you to see what comes up for you, and then I'm going to tell you what the answer is. The question is, what is God? I've given you a lot of ideas. But what is God? And here's the answer. God is you. God is you. You are greatness on demand. Are you demanding that of yourself? To live in greatness, as greatness, all the time, no matter what. The thing about God is we try to utilize language to define something that is beyond language. And the minute we use language to try to define it, we've now limited the idea of that which is unlimited. So it doesn't really work. You cannot use language to describe or define God. And the way that I come to a deeper understanding is through feeling. God is a feeling. And when I'm in alignment with that feeling, my life gets better. That's why I value the spiritual practice of meditation. And I do a centering at the beginning of our experience together, because my intention with that is to bring us all into that frame of mind where we let go of anything that has preceded this moment, we let go of anything that we anticipate is to come, and just allow ourselves to be in the here and now. And from that point, we get to create magnificently. Language can only describe in limited terms. And therefore, when we try to describe God, our understanding of God becomes limited. There's no way to effectively describe God except to recognize what it is within you from that feeling place. Ralph Waldo Emerson, who was a major influence on Dr. Ernest Holmes, wrote this: a man should learn to detect, and women, again, he's gender specific here, we can let that go. A man should learn to detect and watch that gleam of light which flashes his mind from within, more than the luster of the firmament of bards and sages. Yet he dismisses without notice his thought, because it is his. I'm going to read it again, because that's like a lot to unpack, right? A man should learn to detect and watch that gleam of light which flashes across his mind from within, more than the luster of the firmament of bards and sages. Yet he diminishes without notice his thought, because it is his. So, if I'm breaking that down, a man should learn to detect and watch that gleam of light which flashes across his mind from within. So, we all have access to the inherent light that is this divinity that we can feel, we can experience. It's hard to put into words, but we all have access to it. And sometimes we have flashes of this divinity more so than others. And frequently that's because we've maybe gotten off onto a jag of erroneous thinking that is not in alignment with what we would like to experience. But when we come back to the recognition that the flash of the divine is within and inherent within each and every one of us, that's what we need to learn to trust. He writes, a man should learn to detect and watch that gleam of light which flashes across his mind from within. So we need to start to become aware of this. Practices like meditation, centering, affirmations, affirmative prayer, these are ways that we are engaging ourselves mentally into recognizing those flashes from within. We must do this more than the luster of the firmament of bards and sages. Oh, see, this is part of my favorite aspect of this entire philosophy. We so frequently go to the book. We so frequently go to the literature. We so frequently go to the things that we've heard all around us, and we latch onto them. We start to make them the gospel. And what he's saying here is, we need to start to release all of that. We need to start coming to a place of understanding and trusting what is within each and every one of us. Because if we are an expression of that infinite divine nature inherent in everything, then we have access to the infinite nature of it all to be expressed by means of us. There is absolutely no difference between the man Jesus, or the Buddha, or Muhammad, and us. These are simply people who were tapped in to a degree that I think we're all looking to be tapped in. So we need to start trusting ourselves and trusting what is within each and every one of us. He writes, yet he diminishes without notice his thought because it was his. And we can't, oh gosh. Have you ever had a thought you say, oh, that's really great, but I can't know because it's mine. Start owning what's happening. That's a call today. Start owning what is happening in your mind. As we start to own what is happening in our mind, then we can do something about it. But if we're suppressing it or denying it, we can't do anything about it. We have to start owning it. I've had magnificent moments in my life, and I invite them more and more and more. I've had magnificent moments of tapping into that light and allowing them to inform me. One of them was the seemingly, and I say seemingly on purpose, the seemingly mistaken point at which I realized I was meant to become a New Thought minister. Not because it was given to me, that idea from on high, but because it sparked something within me. I fully planned on having a career as an actor and a singer, till I was 6 feet under. And that all changed for me in 2005 when I walked into a New Thought Center for the very first time, and I heard the message of love being preached from the stage, and I had this awakening in that moment. That was a light, a spark of light within me. And it was very shortly thereafter that I was looking at the minister on stage and I said, that's what I want to do. I used to say, that's what I'm meant to do. But I don't think any of us are meant to do anything except that which is within our hearts. So that's what I want to do. That's what is now within my heart, and I get to make a life change to allow that to unfold. So I go through this study, 6 years of study, become a minister, and that light sparked within me again, which is what took me to Toronto, Ontario, which was completely unexpected. And I went and I served there as a spiritual director of that community, the Center for Spiritual Living Toronto, for just about 6 years. So there's that light motivating me into creation, into the action of living life magnificently. And again, I had this idea when I got there. I thought, oh, I've arrived. I'm here, and this is it. I'm going to be here till I'm 6 feet under. And I have to laugh because, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. It was about, just over a year ago. It was Easter of last year, in fact. That light shone within me again and presented itself and announced itself and said, what you were meant to do in Toronto is complete. It's time to go live the next stage of your dream. And that's what brought me back to Tucson, where I was born and where I was raised. I grew up here. I left here 21 years ago to go be an actor, became a minister, and it's brought me back here. So I've come full circle in a way. In writing down these thoughts, I thought, what did these events have in common? What these events had in common is I had to look past preformed ideas of what my life should be. I had to look past the limited conception of my own life to tap into that infinite inherent nature, that feeling of God that is within. And one of my great lessons in this has been to learn to ask this question. And I encourage you all to take this as a question to ask at every moment of your day. If you're feeling confused about something that may be presented to you, ask this question. What wants to happen here? What wants to happen here? And see what you feel. And see what you think. And see how you feel about what it is you think. Because that will be your answer. What wants to happen here? I have never been led astray by moving forward with the answers in my heart to that question, what wants to happen here? In the same essay, Emerson wrote this, trust thyself. Every heart vibrates to that iron string. Trust thyself. Every heart vibrates to that iron string. That's a quote that confused me. I thought, well, what does he mean by iron string? What does that even refer to? I mean, you don't use iron strings on your guitar, right? No. So what is that iron string? And I thought, well, it's that which is unbreakable, that has a reaction to the energy that's put into it. So it's vibrating with an energy. We all have that energy within us. It's like a tuning fork. And we can tune in and align ourselves with that iron string, the energy and the vibration of this divine energy. And when we're in that place, that's when we can lean back into trust. We vibrate at the level of spiritual truth when we are in the feeling of God. We vibrate at the level of spiritual truth when we are in the feeling of God. So trust thyself. I love acronyms. So here's my acronym for trust. Totally rely upon spiritual truth. Totally rely upon spiritual truth. To do this, we absolutely must release our concepts of what we think we know and be willing to ask those questions like, what wants to happen here? What do I not know that I can now know? What is beyond my level of comprehension or the level of the things that I have decided or learned in my life? What can I now know? So where am I now? After becoming a minister, spending time in Toronto, coming back to Tucson, where am I now? I have a vision for this community. And I want to talk a little bit and tell you what that vision is. It's really threefold. I mean, part of it is the Sunday gatherings. But I find it rather perfect that we've ended up in Dedicated, a cafe, for a while, because it has informed how this may unfold in the future. So the threefold aspect of my vision for Tucson New Thought was, number one, a thing that I have called over the years the Consciousness Cafe, which is to have a gathering space throughout the week, just like this. The whole point of view of this gathering space is that we can come together in community and celebrate the good in the world. And we can do it over a cup of coffee. And so there's a 24/7, I don't know if it's going to be 24 hours yet, but we have a full-time space available to come together and gather as community and have access to practices that are going to answer the deeper questions. The Consciousness Cafe. So that's in alignment with spiritual community, one of our values. The other part of my vision is Tucson New Thought. There's a production arm of that, which I've explored that as well by doing these fully produced kind of Sunday virtual experiences. And so I've been kind of playing with that a little bit and seeing how that feels. And I think that's something that can continue to grow. Because here's the other thing that I'm very interested in is, while we are a local community, I want us to have an expanded global reach. Because the point at which each and every one of us is aligned with love and expressing that, that expands into the global community. And I want us to be able to share that with everyone. And when we share that with everyone, then we will attract people to this community, which brings me to part 3 of the vision for Tucson New Thought, which is to create, well, I call it a getaway center. A getaway center. I don't call it a retreat center because we're not looking to retreat from anything. We're looking to advance ourselves in spirituality. And so that's why I want it to be a getaway for people to come and advance themselves in spirituality. Now, we had a great talk yesterday about launching that idea next year and putting together a getaway for people to join us from all over the world for like 4 days, maybe a full week. And we've been starting to look at locations for places to go to, engage in spiritual practice and have it be a place that people can come to as a destination. So that's part of our global reach and our extended community. So that's where I am now. These ideas that have come through that only require commitment and a decision to let them unfold. When the universe makes a decision, when you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. I keep coming back to that. When one makes a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. And unfortunately, I can't remember if it's Thoreau or Emerson. I think it's Emerson. But to allow that decision to come into expression, we have to rely on ourselves. We have to come into that place of totally relying upon spiritual truth. And that spiritual truth is inherent within each and every one of us. We become revealers of this truth by living in trust. So here's what I want to do. I did something a little different today to complete my message. And that is, if you look on your handout, and I'm sorry I don't have this for everyone online, but I will put this online. I'll put it on Facebook. I have 3 questions for contemplation this week. what I intend with these questions is for you to carry this with you and allow yourself to be led into action through the use of these questions. Spend a little time with these questions each and every day and trust what comes up for you. Here's one thing that I will encourage you to do. Whatever comes up for you, don't judge it. Just recognize it. So free of judgment, these are the three questions. Number one, looking out. In what way am I more fully expressing my authentic self? Is what I do respectful, inclusionary, and steeped in a personal vision of my most magnificent life? So that's about looking out to the world. How am I being expressive to the world? Looking up. In what way am I consistently connecting more deeply to the authentic heart at the core of God or infinite spirit? So looking up is about how am I connecting to that which I might perceive as outside of myself? In what way am I consistently connecting more deeply to the authentic heart at the core of God or infinite spirit? And then looking within. In what way am I more fully embodying and expressing, living this question, what wants to happen here? In what way am I more fully embodying and expressing, living the question, what wants to happen here? On the very cover of the business plan that I put together for Tucson New Thought, I put in big, bold letters, I want Tucson New Thought to be a place where people can learn to live and use practical tools. Because just ruminating on philosophical ideas is not enough to change a life. That's a start. But that philosophy, the philosophy has to lead to action. And that's what I stand for in all that I think, say, and do. And that's what I'm counting on as we grow this spiritual community. So I'm grateful to you for being here. I'm grateful to you for stepping it up in your own lives. And I'm grateful to you for the love you share in your heart with this entire community. Namaste. Get a noodle. It's okay. She's tuning. So we are a community that is supported through your generosity. And while we're here at Dedicated, we're not passing the basket around, but you do have an envelope there. And if you would be so kind as to share with us your financial abundance so that we can continue to grow and build this community. I am grateful for all that you offer. Money is God in action. Money is love in action. And it takes money to put God or love into action in the frame of reference that we all exist in. It does require money. Money is simply a physical representation of an infinite abundance which we all share. So as we share it, as we give, so we receive, as we receive, so we give, we must keep in circulation at all times with life. And one way to do this is through the givingness of spirit. So I honor your investment in the work that we do here. I'm so grateful to you for your support, for the blessings that you share. And I want to say, for everyone online, you can make your commitment financially to this organization and to the work that we're doing online as well, clicking the links that are in the description field. And I've also, if you go to our website, there are multiple ways of giving. You can give a one-time donation, or you can set up a recurring contribution that automatically is debited from your account. So just honor the love. And when we're complete here, you can put your love right in the basket there. So next week, as I said before, we're going to begin meeting at the Spark Project Collective. They have a stage there. They have space for us to meet. There's not steaming of milk happening there. No offense. But one of the great things is the relationship that I've gotten into with the owner there. He has basically, he doesn't open his business till noon. So he said basically, well, I'll just give you a key and you can come in and use the space. So it's basically our space to use. And I'm really excited about that. So that starts next week. We'll be there for at least 3 months, and we'll continue to grow this and expand this community until we can find a permanent home. I want to say thank you to Dia for your musical talents today. So grateful to you. I really want to say thank you to Rebecca Wicker, who is the owner of this establishment, Dedicated Gluten-Free Bakery and Coffee Shop. I want to say thank you to everybody at Dedicated for allowing us to be here this month. And I want to say thank you for being here, showing up and supporting this vision. So, we're going to relax and allow ourselves to close out this time musically. Oh, why don't you do that? So I invite you to relax right where you are. Just settle in to that place of feeling. The inherent space of understanding that there is only one thing going on, and that is greatness on demand. And that is who and what each and every one of us is. It's like the air around me. It's like the sunlight on my face. Feel the love of God surround me. I am touched by amazing grace. All I ever wanted, all I ever needed was already there. Closer than the sunlight, nearer than the air. I breathe in, and I am filled with the Spirit. And it is health to my body, it is peace to my mind, it is joy. It is joy to my soul. I breathe out a simple prayer of thank you. And my breath becomes a song that was singing all along, that is singing everywhere. It is nearer than the air. That ineffable thing, the thing itself, God, good orderly direction, greatness on demand, it is nearer than the air. It is the circle and circumference of all that is, and we are, each and every one of us, individualizations of this infinite creative power. We are, as Rumi says, not a drop in the ocean. We are the entire ocean in a drop. And so all that God is, all that love is, all that infinite spirit is what we are. There is absolutely no separation. And so I settle into this idea, right here and right now, relaxing into the secure knowledge that when I am in that feeling of spiritual truth, I can totally rely upon spiritual truth. I can trust and allow and know that my life is unfolding magnificently, no matter what. And I know that this is true for each and every person who is touched by this experience of the Sunday gathering today. We, each of us, can totally rely upon spiritual truth, deepening into that space of trust and knowing that it is grounded in love. Relaxing, releasing, and knowing with deep gratitude in our hearts I trust in the perfect flow of the Divine Spirit through this entire experience of life. A release, let go, and allow, knowing my word spoken is law. And let it be so, as together we say, and so it is. I breathe in, and I am filled with the Spirit. It is health to my body. It is peace to my mind. It is joy. It is joy. It is joy. It is joy to my soul. I breathe out a simple prayer of thank you. And my breath becomes a song that is singing all along, that is singing everywhere. It is nearer than the air. So it is. Thank you all for being here. What do you say? You know what? Let's do the I'm so grateful to take us out today. If you want to stand up, I'm going to stand up. Say thank you to everybody online. Sue, Ellen, John, I see you all there. Thanks for watching today. Do you all mind if I show everyone online? Our community here. Look, everybody's here. Yay. Gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. Gratitude for me. Gratitude behind me. Gratitude to the left of me. Gratitude to the right of me. Gratitude above me. Gratitude below me. Gratitude within me. Gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful. 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 All right. And I am so grateful. Thank you all so much. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week at Spark. Bye, everybody.